So we talked just about the political strategy called weaponized poverty. Nigeria is considerably one of the poorest countries in the world. Unfortunately, that shouldn't be because we have everything that is needed for a country to enlist among the first world countries. Everything we have. When you study elements of national power, there are there are indices for which a country can be considered great. Nigeria meets all those indices, but then still very poor. We would only say we do not have um, nuclear weapons, but Nigeria has what it takes to have nuclear weapons. But on the aspect of nuclear weapons, we can understand the international politics. We can understand the balance of power system that sabotages countries having nuclear weapons. But if smaller countries like North Korea could have nuclear weapons, then Nigeria can have nuclear weapons. Nigeria has what it takes to be a first world country. But then the citizens are extremely poor. In fact, 90% of Nigerians are poor, you know. And the poverty we are talking about is not merely the poverty of material things, it's not merely the poverty that causes hunger or economic hardship. It is a poverty that stretches to the intellectual space. That is the worst of poverty because if you were hungry, you could easily find food. You could you could walk. Nigeria is a place that do a lot of giveaways, especially on the social media. Drop your account. First 10 people to drop the account, or first 10 people to repost, or whatever, you get something to eat. Nigeria is one country you could just walk into someone's apartment and beg for food, and they would give. You could just walk into a restaurant and be like, I'm very hungry, please, can you help me? You find people that came to eat that will get food for you. The one who runs the restaurant can even, I remember those days, if you got to a restaurant, the food is ready, and you said you are hungry, they'll offer to give you food but wouldn't give you meat. According to them, person wey dey hungry no suppose dey think of meat. That's Nigeria. So the poverty that comes with economic lack is not really the problem. What the problem is the poverty of the mind, is the poverty of thought, the poverty of intellectuality or intellectualism, if that's the word. And those of you who quote the Bible would already say, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. But then, the poverty of the mind, unfortunately, is most often determined by the poverty of economics. What do I mean by this? A philosopher said, a man thinks according to his stomach. You know, your financial capabilities or abilities determine your mental or psychological outpouring or countenance. So, in as much as the poverty of economics is not really a problem, so to say, but the poverty of the mind is the bigger problem. It is the poverty of economics that has led to the poverty of the mind. So you can't treat one without the other, you know, cause and effect. But then you see how poor people are expendables, how poor people are very vulnerable, how poor people are very gullible. It is because the poverty have transformed from the pocket to the mind, to the brains, to the heads. And then when you look at Nigeria and the way people respond to issues, to events, the way we respond to government or governance, you could just see that the major problem in Nigeria is poverty. It's clear, and I will explain. Because a lot of time we would say it's leaders, bad politicians, miseducation, you know, religion. But it is poverty. It is poverty that begets gullibility. When you are poor, you become gullible to almost everything. I'll ask a question. When last or how many times have you seen a wealthy man speak in tongues? In fact, the wealthy people who speak in tongues are religiously the pastors, the daddy GOs. And if you search, even the daddy GOs do not really speak in tongues. When it's time for prayer, I've been a church person, as into the depth of it. When it's time for prayer, there is always the prayer leader. There is a prayer warrior group, you know, and it's mainly occupied by very poor people. When it's time for prayer, you see the pastor will preach You know, Malachi chapter this, verse that, bring all the whatever into the storehouse. When it's time for prayer, the one that Jesus said men ought to pray and not to faint, pray without ceasing, the one that you should do repeatedly. When it's time for that one, the man of God hands over the mic to a poor person, because poverty will make you think you should have to pray. Rich people, wealthy people do not speak in tongues. In 2 days, you go to church, observe them. If a wealthy person is praying, it's just, they already know that this is not what gave them the wealth. You cannot be a billionaire without doing one or two dirty deals. It's not possible. Billionaire. And Nigeria is so poor in the mind that they don't even know what dirty deal is. For Nigerians, dirty deal mean blood money or stuff. That's not what dirty deal actually is. Dirty deals like economic sabotage, economic oppression, like underpayment of staff, like using lower quality products, materials to produce, and then exorbitant prices. Those are dirty deals. You can't be a billionaire without going dirty. In fact, in places like Nigeria, it's hard to even be a multi-millionaire without going dirty. So those wealthy people, they know it's not prayer that gave them their wealth. So what are they praying for? It is you that is poor who believes that it is through prayer, through fasting. When last uh, have you seen Dangote? Okay, Dangote is a Muslim. When last did you see Dangote in the mosque? When last did you see these rich guys like Elumelu in church, the ones that are Christians? They are busy closing deals. They are busy building wealth. It is only poor people you find around God trying to trying to get something to eat. That's what poverty will do to you. But it's a time you're supposed to use to attempt at fixing the problem. So the poverty in African countries is caused by Europe. There is a song by Fela, Why Black Man They Suffer. You listen to that song. There are books. You can read Walter Rodney, you know, why how Europe underdeveloped Africa. You can read um, this professor, in Port Harcourt. I've forgotten his name. I will remember. A Political Economy of Africa. He also wrote um, Social Science as Imperialism. I'll remember his name hopefully. But you can read books. There is the wretched of the earth. There is the West and the rest of us. There is neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism, Kwame Nkrumah. There are a lot of books, but we are too hungry to read. When you are hungry to start with, you can't even have what you want to go and read safe, you no go fit assimilate. I remember his name now, A Political Economy of Africa, Cloud AK. You know, the poverty in Nigeria, the poverty in Africa is caused by the West. You can also read Teresa Hayter's works. Teresa Hayter, that's even a Western writer. You know, but that poverty having been caused by the West, someone might want to say, but we are now ruling ourselves. We now have indigenous leaders, presidents. At least we have been given independence. Let me tell you something. Nobody was given independence. If being dependent is to the satisfaction or to the gains of the one who made you dependent, they will never want you to be independent. These things are very easy to understand, but poverty has blocked our brains. So whenever we come out and celebrate independence, 1960, 1st October, it's funny to me because there is no independence. What happened is that the Europeans chose indigenous people and made them the custodians of the poverty. So, your president in Nigeria, for example, your president in Ghana, your president in even South Africa, your president all over the African continent are the custodians of poverty, the poverty that the West has stricken Africa by. They handed it over to selected individuals to protect, make sure these people continue in this poverty. But while doing that, there is something you will gain from. So you gain power, you make wealth, you just make like a percentage of the sovereign wealth. You know, you would become relevant, you become respected, you be called leaders, but you'll be called presidents, you'll be called governors, chairmen, councillors, you'll be called ministers, commissioners, legislators, senator, reps member. You will be highly placed, your family will be highly placed. You can take your own money and save in our banks, will protect it for you. You can buy estates. You can send your kids to school in our schools, but just protect the poverty, because by that poverty, we Europeans make a whole lot of profit. So the people you call your leaders, your politicians, they are the custodians of the poverty that the Europeans will want to protect in Africa. So they use political strategies to ensure that Nigerians, when you hear Nigerians or Nigeria, just know I'm talking about Africa, but Nigeria is just um, a point of reference. Bob Marley sang Ambush in the Night, you know, and it talked about political strategy where they keep us hungry, and when you want to get some food, your brother will be your enemy. That's your brother who is your enemy, is the one who is your political leader, the one you idolize, the one you call Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the one you call Godswill Akpabio, the one you call Senator Natasha. Some of them look very wonderful. Some of them appear as doing something for the people. But these are all pranks. They are con men and women. They do not really do. It doesn't cost anything to make Nigeria great, but the poverty needs to be protected. They are only interested in making themselves great. I mean, the politicians right now, by making, by ensuring Europe remains great. The greatness of Europe means the greatness of your indigenous leaders. You could ask yourself, why is America interested in Nigeria? Why are European countries interested in Africa when they said they have actually given us independence? Why are they interested in our wars? Why are they interested in our business? It's because they never gave us independence. If some military boys want to topple government, to try to fix things, so they say they do not really fix anything. The foreign powers become restless. They want to do everything possible to take out, because you could they could control the military less. Someone that has a gun, they could control the military less. It is not that they can't control them. They can. Pata if it's too much, they go send their own military come at you. But they want to keep a face of, we don't do that. It's Donald Trump that is really showing people what Europe and America actually is. You know, they ensure that you're poor so that when they throw you crumbs, you would be momentarily satisfied. You praise them. When you've not seen uh, 5 kilometers tarred road before, and someone builds 2 kilometers, you naturally you be a devil for not praising them. Meanwhile, what they've taken from you is something with which they can build 2,000 kilometers. But because they make you poor, they keep you poor, you do not know that what they are taking from you is a billion times more than what they are giving to you in return. Then there is an aspect of poverty that is very, very advantageous. It is the poor person that can go against the system. Like the Babylon system, the way Bob Marley said it. Is the poor, you need to be hungry for you to fight hunger. You need to be oppressed for you to fight oppression. You need to be marginalized for you to fight marginalization. So everything that the average Nigerian needs to fight the system, to make the change, is readily available. And that thing is poverty. So our poverty is supposed to be our inspiration to stand up and say enough is enough. And we've been impoverished to that point. Long time ago, we've been impoverished to that point where we are supposed to say enough is enough. I wonder what else they are supposed to have done or they are supposed to do that they are yet to do for Nigerians to stand up. This poverty I'm talking about, Nigerians are poor. Nigerians are poor. You need to travel around to see how poor Nigerians are. There are places you go to in Nigeria, you would see that poverty is walking naked in the streets. Nigerians live on scavenging, not mad people. If you go to dump sites, you will see human beings that are sane, picking dirt, picking garbages just to survive. I have seen a dump site where human beings like me were fighting over space. I am the one who have this territory, this dirty, this dirty. Na me get this area where this dirty dey. Na me get this dirty. You come to, you want to encroach into my dirt. You want to encroach into my waste. You want to encroach. Oh, God damn it. I saw it and I stopped and I was watching. They were fighting on a dump site. It is the same country that someone is paying for a drink in dollars. It is the same country that a political leader would be talking about, is it Glenfiddich, is it Focusing or whatever, expensive drinks. The drink that you just take a bottle and you can take 5-6 bottles in one sitting. Drinks that the amount of a bottle would pay someone through school for 4 years and graduate. It is that same country that people are fighting on dump sites. I have not seen this kind of poverty any other place. I have been opportune to even be a resident, a legal resident in another country. I have not seen this kind of thing. What led to revolutions in this first world? A lot of people do not know that these first world countries have been through spoil systems just like Nigeria did. It is revolution, insurrection, going against the system. that is part of how these big countries were able to become big. And the people did not suffer 5% what Nigerians are suffering and taking before they were able to stand up. There is no country I know, for the few I've been to, at least let me speak from the first-hand experience. There is no country I know where cities, we do not even, we are not citizens in Nigeria, by the way. There is no country I know where people, even your neighboring countries in your Nigeria, your neighbor, Cameroon, go to dump site to fight over waste because you can't go back home and they ask you for food, for fees, school fees, and you said, I didn't want to fight at the dump site. Bro, you need to fight it out. Dump, dump. You need to fight to get waste to market for food. And it's big business. But that's what political strategy is. Someone who fights at the dump site, if that person is visited by a politician and is given 100,000 naira, that person is ready to die for that politician. So when we talk about vote buying or vote selling, a lot of times we need to push ourselves. When we blame ourselves, we push ourselves. We are pushing ourselves. But it's not our fault. The way an average Nigerian approach their leaders, worship your oppressors, it's not really their fault. It's mad. They are mad. We are not normal. It's a mental problem. You're mentally impaired to worship your leaders. So I wouldn't blame you because the leaders are the ones who use the political strategy to put you in that position, to see your oppressor and clap for them and salute and bow for them. People you are supposed to be sending to meet their creators. If Europe and America didn't send their leaders to their creators, Europe and America would not be celebrated as first world countries. This spoil system was never for Africa alone, it was everywhere. An average human being with power would make use of it to the detriment of others. Scratch it. But one thing that is used in the Nigerian situation is political strategy. Your problem comes from abroad. So the people who are doing it do it with reckless abandon. If our problems were originally within, it would have been easier to fix because the leaders will be doing what is called patriotic capitalism. They will be oppressing you and leaving space for you to try to grow because they see you as their own. Now my person, make I know to do am. But the Europeans, the Americans, they do not see you as their own, so you can go to hell for all they care. It is that mentality that they pass to our leaders, the people they gave the poverty to protect. And it is that mentality our leaders are using to lead us. But why is our poverty not pushing us to fight against poverty? Why is our oppression not pushing us to fight against oppression? Why is our injustice not pushing us to fight against injustice? The reason is simple: political strategy. There is the political strategy of weaponize hunger or weaponize poverty, and then there is the political strategy of weaponized ignorance. And when we want to talk about weaponized ignorance now, it's not necessarily miseducation. That one is a whole lot of package on its own. But the strategy is everywhere. Religion has its own. But I'm talking about misinformation. In political science, there is what is called political communication. You know, where you divert attention, where you create distraction. Nigerian leaders are very attentive. They want to protect what they are protecting by any means necessary. So they are very attentive. They do not want to go into physical battle. They are not ready to want to start fighting people, sending army. They only do that when it's the only thing left. You know. So they divert your attention. They sponsor entertainment. They sponsor movies. They sponsor skit making. They sponsor comedies. They sponsor cinemas. You know, the one that is on the front burner is one boy they call I Show Speed. They will sponsor you to come. They own the entertainment. They own the media. You know, very soon one international streamer will come. One international act will come. Maybe we are dealing with taxation right now. Maybe the pressure would be building and someone would just come and youth. It's the young people that have the power to fight this thing. But they will distract you with all these things. Everybody will now focus on I Show Speed, on what's this other kid's name? Me, I don't like them. I don't like them, so I don't keep their names. What's this guy's name? Pella. How Pella became famous is what I cannot explain. But all these people are sponsored. You saw how Pella visited Silverbed. Your senator, welcome Pella. These things are supposed to tell you. These are the people who distract you. When you're so poor, they will sponsor these people. They will come and do giveaway in December. They will go to the villages, throw their gates open, buy rice. We will talk about it for 2 weeks. They will sponsor the one that will come out and say, a pastor did this to her, this other pastor did the other thing to the other person. They just keep you busy. That is what will help you to put up with the poverty you're supposed to be fighting. Political communication. And somehow, a poor person is always having data. A poor person is always having data. I will still say it. A poor person is always having data. So you are hungry. But rather than thinking of what to eat, you're thinking of how to get data to stay entertained, to follow trends. You want to know what Seun Kuti have said you want to also know the response he got from either Wizkid or Wizkid fans. You're doing that with hunger, so you cannot fight hunger because your attention has been diverted to trivial things. These are the things that keep you going low and going low and going low. And the politicians will collaborate with the foreign powers and take your resources day after day, time after time. But we need to know this. Political strategy. Another aspect of political strategy is the civil society, human rights activists. I've always quoted Albert Einstein. Politics is more difficult than physics. Politics is a very difficult thing to understand. Political strategy. Dele Farotimi called them human rice. Rice, food. Someone else called them cash activists. Those people are all there for the taking. I don't want to mention names, but you see these people that are always fighting for you. The real activist is you because you know that you are fighting. You know you want Nigeria to. Those people that will come and let's go out and protest. Those people are making money from that thing. I don't know how to convince you about it until you stood up on your own, until you are like enough is enough. Anybody who is leading you to go and protest is using you. Those people are in the payroll of government. Those people they work for Tinubu. But what is very plain to see is what an average Nigerian will never see because of the poverty that have beclouded their senses. There is a fixed date for revolution. You fix a date. You will write a letter to the government to approve the protest against the government. And those of you who said you are intelligent or educated, you fall for this trick. An activist will come out to celebrate the fact that government have approved the protest date. An activist will come out to get angry over the fact that government have refused to approve a protest date. Is that you people love to joke? Let me tell you something. Currently, Wizkid and Seun Kuti are fighting. I'm not interested because it's a strategy. For your mind now, Wizkid no dey involve himself for politics. Wizkid is an entertainer, is making his money. It's not true. Those are the people that the government used to keep you. You see how you're talking about it now. You see how everybody is talking about Wizkid. The good thing, I like to see the positive side of things. The good thing about the the fixed or the staged fight is that the fella is getting a new level of recognition. These our Gen Z people are getting to really know fella. I've seen people try to know this fella wey you talk say big pass Wizkid, make I know wetin he sing. I've seen people expose Wizkid songs where he sampled Wizkid. Wizkid, in fact, Wizkid has benefited from Fela more than anybody. Everything he does is Fela. Everything Wizkid does. Wizkid does. He's not a musician. Oh Jesus! I don't even want to. Me self, I don't dey fall into the distraction. So I'll have to retrace my step. But they they sponsor these things. Wizkid will make a lot of money from this thing. Seun Kuti will make a lot of money from this thing. Fela's music will gain a lot of money that Seun Kuti will share. Have you seen Seun Kuti's siblings calling him to order? Like Femi or Yeni. They are making money. They are even saying Wizkid is family. Yeni, Wizkid is family. I respect him. He's my small boy. I love him. We are family. Femi, Wizkid is family. Wizkid is, I respect. You that will not benefit nothing is the one that is sharing line. Don't cross this line. You are talking to Wizkid. You're talking to Fela. My own is, in as much as you want to make business from yourselves, you people are entertainers. For you to even say to compare Fela is, don't touch that dial. I don't know if you understand it. No matter how you would have made money off Fela without going the extra mile to want to compare, even though we know it's a passive statement, but there is a position you occupy in society that your passive statements are very active statements. But this whole shenanigan between the Kutis and Wizkid and the rest, these are sponsored distractions. These are sponsored distractions. But how do you think? How does it make sense to you that something as common as fan-based argument will become this relevant for this big? I never knew about it until I saw where someone compared Fela and Wizkid. I was like, where is the comparison coming from? So I looked further and I saw what happened. These are the things that the government use to keep you busy while they are busy doing what they are doing to you. You that is watching now, I know you are thinking of how to get data to know the latest on Seun Kuti and Wizkid. It is the time you're supposed to use to think of how to get what to eat. And if you can't get what to eat, you start thinking of who is the person that is sitting on my food. And when you start thinking of that, you start thinking of how do I go about unseating this person who is sitting on my food. But you cannot do that because your mind is occupied with Wizkid, Seun Kuti, FC, Outsider. What was the other one? 30 billion. These are people who collaborate with the government. Don't you see them visiting government every now and then? What does that tell you? Okay, you are fanning someone who visits government, and the same you are saying government is your problem. I remember when some people started saying your enemy's enemy is your enemy. But if government is your enemy, and your favorite or your celebrity is your friend, is a friend to government, and your enemy's enemy is your enemy. What do you say about your enemy's friend? Is your enemy's friend your friend? But I don't get. Your enemy's friend doesn't have to be your enemy. But can you comfortably trust that your enemy's friend is your friend? You are the one that is sitting on top my food, that is responsible for my hunger. And I am a super fan of your friend. How does it make sense? If myself and your friend are actually friends, why is your friend not telling you to stop sitting on my food? So you could see the relationship between governance and entertainment. The Bola Ahmed Tinubu's led government is making a whole use of this, the social media, entertainment, to distract us. Nigerians have never been this distracted, and Nigerians have never been this impoverished. That's why even if Tinubu leaves and someone worse comes, the person will continue to do these things and nothing will change because they've kept us distracted. We just have to understand that. All right, an average Nigerian is very wicked. And that wickedness is not natural, it's the bitterness that comes from hunger. You know, there is a saying that a hungry man is an angry man. Don't you see that a very little thing you are upset? You know, things that people in other countries would make joke out of. You are carrying it to use thunder to fire people. Football just happened. Chukwueze missed a penalty. But other people went ahead to miss penalties. Some of the best players in Europe from Africa missed penalties in the AFCON. Did you see how their fans responded? That's to tell you that Nigeria is the poorest country if Nigeria is the poorest country in Africa, then it's the poorest country in the world. Or Nigeria have the poorest people. Nigeria is not a poor country. Nigeria has the poorest people in the world. The poverty of the mind. You don't think right because there are other countries of Africa. Morocco, even though I do not classify those people as North Africa, but we don't dey for Africa plates. Be say we don't dey for Africa plates, so we be Africans. They lost a penalty that cost them the trophy. But their fans were busy making excuses. It's not the end of the world. In World Cup, you show them who you are. Morocco is the best. You know, Neymar missed penalty, Messi missed penalty, Ronaldo missed penalty. So if Brahim Diaz missed penalty, he's not the first person. The same for Salah. The same for Marmoush. But they immediately Chukwueze, who came with a deflated ego, missed penalty. The whole of hell was thrown out. That is the anger that is as a result of poverty. This guy, there is this super sports guy that spoke about a taxi driver who helped him in Morocco. You know, the guy waited, he was looking for a location, the guy helped him, spent lengthy hours, almost the whole day, making sure he found where he was going to. And then he gave the guy money. The guy said, no, 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 just pay me for the actual ride. He gave the guy pounds. The guy said no. He gave the guy dollars. The guy said no. He gave the guy, he carried everything and gave. The guy said no, just pay for the actual. But if it were a Nigerian driver, rider, Uber, immediately you are on a call and you are like, I am missing my location. The driver had already the vex. The ride is still on. In fact, you jumped in a ride and you told the driver you do not know where you're going. The driver had already dey vex say you don't know where you dey go. They feel even inside their mind they don't dey curse you. As old as you are, you don't know where you're going. It is the anger of poverty. So the Moroccan driver knows that whether he took that money or not, when he goes back home, he will have what to eat. Do you know why there is cashless society in Europe or those countries? Because you do not really need money. There is electricity. There is education for you. They even beg you to come and school for free. There is availability of food, good roads. You do not even need a car. You do not actually need anything. You just get everything. So the emphasis on money is dropped. And when you have your needs, you will not easily get angry at issues. Do you see why people commit suicide in Europe and America? Over very nonsensical things. My girlfriend broke my heart. You know, some people, my mommy or my daddy spoke to me harshly. Just over nothing. But if a Nigerian is committing it, all those people that are going to Third Mainland Bridge to jump, is it not because of hunger? So it is the hunger in us as a result of poverty that keeps our nerves, that keeps our fuses short. We have short fuses because everybody is hungry. Everybody is hungry. But rather than pour out that anger on the people that have kept us hungry, we pour it out on ourselves because the people that have kept us hungry are using a political strategy to divert our attention from them. We need to know this. When we say no, we do not want our attention to be diverted, that is when we will bring these people to book and Nigeria will rise. Until then, they will keep keeping us hungry and using the political strategy to keep us humble.